Local, live from KCTV5, this is breaking news.
I'm sorry, the people of Jackson County, that here's another stain against county government, but I'm confident that I'm not the person making that stain.
Interim Jackson County Executive Phil LeVota is defiantly denying allegations against him as he gets federally indicted for bribery. A federal grand jury slapped him with 5 charges.
It's all tied to this year's election for Jackson County Executive. KCTV5 has team coverage, including reaction from LeVota's peers. We begin with our Samantha Boring, though, who has the charges and what LeVota said at a 4 o'clock press conference. Samantha?
Zach, Lauren, let's break down those charges, which LeVota is pleading not guilty to. He's facing 5 federal charges. Number 1, fraud by wire, radio, or television. 2, bribery involving federal programs. 2 charges of racketeering, bribery, and the 5th, giving a false statement to federal authorities. LeVota is denying all allegations. He says it was legislator Deron McGee who secretly recorded their conversation in March, and that's why he says he's facing these charges. LeVota says he never offered McGee a job in exchange to withdraw from the county executive race.
There was no allegation at all of offering any money whatsoever. The only allegation is the amount that Deron McGee wanted to be paid. There's no allegation in that indictment about any money transferring hands at all.
LeVota's next court hearing is on August 18th. Federal court records also show that his jury trial is scheduled for November 30th of this year. Now, LeVota did apologize to Jackson County taxpayers during the press conference today. He said, though, he's not sure whether he will keep his position or resign. He says he hasn't thought about that so far. He has about 5 months left as interim Jackson County executive. Live from downtown Kansas City, Samantha Boring, KCTV5 News.
Thank you, Samantha. Now let's get over to KCTV5's Chandler Watkins. Chandler, you've been hearing from lawmakers and LeVota's peers. What are they saying about all of this?
Yeah, several county staff and legislators have expressed shock, and others said they wanted time to review everything before making an official statement. Now, we have heard from Jackson County Legislative Chair Donna Payton, who tells us that these are serious allegations. At the same time, an indictment is an allegation, not a determination of guilt, and Mr. LeVota is entitled to due process under law. As chairperson of the Jackson County Legislature, my immediate responsibility is to the residents of Jackson County and ensuring the continuity of county government. I also reached out to those running for the county executive position. Stacey Lake's team tells me that she's declining to comment on the matter beyond saying that as an attorney, she recognizes the seriousness of the indictment and has respect for the legal process. She'll be closely monitoring the situation as it unfolds, but we must allow the charges to follow the proper course through the courts. And Alan Rolfing tells me that we all recognize these are serious allegations. As such, I'm choosing not to comment at this time. Now, I have reached out to all of the legislators, including Deron McGee, who LeVota says was part of the conversations listed in the indictment. We have not heard back from him at this time, but as we continue to get responses, we'll keep you guys updated. For now, reporting outside the Jackson County Courthouse, Chandler Watkins, KCTV5 News.
Lots of reaction pouring in. Chandler, thank you very much. Now, LeVota took over last year, appointed to bring stability after the recall of former executive Frank White.
Voters removed White from office with 85% of the vote last September. This was following the property tax assessment crisis. Since then, a class action lawsuit has been filed on behalf of more than 200,000 taxpayers who were overcharged on their property tax bills.
In October, former Kansas City Mayor Kay Barnes was picked to replace him temporarily until they found an interim executive. Days later, LeVota was sworn in, promising to restore confidence in the seat.
Trust is the foundation of effective government, and I'm committed to transparency, accountability, and open communication.
And there's some distrust in what's going on in Jackson County government. So that plays into the, hey, let's get away from that too. And I understand that. One of my goals is to start to restore confidence in Jackson County government.
LeVota also decided to run for the executive position full-time after signing an affidavit saying he did not intend to run at the time of taking over the interim role. He dropped out of the race back in April. LeVota now has 5 months remaining in his term if he decides not to resign before then. The election to pick a new Jackson County executive is in November.
Stay with KCTV5 as this story develops. Download the KCTV5 News app for alerts and updates as they come in.